Hello people and welcome back to the RDF Tactics YouTube channel, where today we're going to be looking at Antonio Conte's tactics at Tottenham Hotspur. They've used a 3-4-3 apart from one match against Liverpool, and that match was a very good match. But so far Tottenham have started well, and in Football Manager we're going to try and replicate that, look at the tactic and look at the reasons why it has worked out so far. So make sure you are subscribed, make sure you like this video, also leave a comment. All of that stuff helps this channel and this video grow. Lastly, make sure you check out this app from OneFootball. It's a very good app. Make sure that you don't miss out. OneFootball have been amazing enough to sponsor this video, and what I need for you guys to do is check out the app. The link will be in the description. It's fairly easy to do. You can download it via the link, or you can use the barcode on the screen. The app is a great footballing app. It's where you can check the latest statistics, the latest football news. You can also watch some live free games. Yes, you heard me right. You can watch free games live for free on the footballing app. It's my favorite place to keep up to date with the most recent football news. You can also find some fantastic analysis and match reports on the OneFootball app as well. If you're attempting to replicate tactics like I do on this channel, you can also use this app to grab the latest match stats and all of that good stuff. So make sure you check out the app. The link is in the description, but also you can use the barcode on the screen, and trust me, you will not regret downloading this app. Welcome back, and what we're going to do is basically create the tactic from scratch. So rather than having a tactic on the screen basically ready for you to copy it or just to download it, we will create it. We'll go through the methods and the reasons behind each team instruction and their player roles as well. And of course we are going to be playing a game to look at the tactic and how the tactic plays out in a game. So the very first thing to do is, of course, the formation. What formation are we going to set up in? Now we're going to use two formations, the 3-4-3 or a 3-4-2-1, and also the 3-5-2. Since Antonio Conte has arrived, he's deployed the 3-4-3 system at Tottenham Hotspur, which saw Spurs get a 0-0 draw away to Everton, but then won their 3 Premier League games after that draw against Leeds United, Brentford and Norwich City. In their most recent game, at the time of writing this, they came up against an in-form Liverpool side, which saw Conte switch formation to a counter-attacking 5-3-2 operating in a mid to low block, which proved to be somewhat successful, getting a 2-2 draw. And by using the average position map, which will be on the screen right now as well, we're going to try and recreate that shape. So first of all, the 3-4-2-1 or the 3-4-3, as the two attacking midfielders are very narrow, operating in that half space. So should we use wingers? Probably not. But the difficult thing that we're going to find is operating in a 5-4-1 when defending, because of course the two attacking midfielders are not going to drop back into the winger position. So we do have a little predicament, and this is where we have to compromise already on the shape. We can go for the 3-4-3 where we won't have the wingers as narrow as in the half shape, but also operating in that 3-4-2-1 shape. We won't get the attacking midfielders dropping back into a 5-4-1, but for me, having those two attacking midfielders operating in that half space is way more important than defending in that 5-4-1 block, because that 5-4-1 block is only occasional. It's not going to be happening every single time when we're defending. So let's get that first shape. And here already you can see the 3-4-2-1, which is what we're going to use, and press confirm. Now for that 3-5-2 or the 5-3-2, which I believe it was more of a 5-3-2 anyway, and that is what we're going to use. We're going to look for the 5-3-2, and what we're going to do is move this defensive midfielder up into that midfield line, and here we have a 5-3-2, which you will only use against the bigger sides like I did. This tactic, the 3-4-2-1, was used the majority time when testing out or creating this tactic. Oh, and we also have to drop these players in that wing back position. So here we have our shape, and what we're going to do is look at the out of possession principles to try and work out the team instructions and also possibly some of the player roles. Within their 3-4-3 shape, Antonio Conte so far has defended in a mid to high block, attempting to force the opponents around the block and defend and win the ball back in the wider areas to then seek counter-attacking opportunities. Lengthy spells without the ball, the side will look to shape up in a 5-4-1 with the wingers dropping deeper. This allows the central midfielders to leave their line of press, and to make sure there's no space in between the lines, the central defender will also push ahead to reduce the space in the central areas. The plan has been to block the central routes by the central players defending close to each other and not allowing the opponents to play through them. So what we can do for the out of possession is set up Tottenham in a mid to a high block. Now in Football Manager, of course, we all know the higher block works extremely well, but we don't need to go to the extreme. We don't need to go really high. So what we're going to do is push the line of engagement higher and the defensive line higher as well. This, of course, is also going to make sure that we aren't giving up too much space in between the lines. If I left, I don't know, the defensive line on standard, but the higher line of engagement, this will create more depth and more space in between our lines, which is exactly what we don't want. So we're going to go with the higher defensive line. The defensive width, we're actually going to leave this on standard rather than force the opponents out wide, only because we have a lot of central players already. We literally only have 2 wider players in this formation, so we don't necessarily have to force the opponents out wide. Naturally, that should be happening anyway. Now again, lengthy spells without the ball. Tottenham will attempt to put pressure on their opponents, but nothing too extreme. If we look at the game against Brentford, we will see their PPDA on just over 8, so they were only allowing 8 passes before they engaged in a defensive duel, which is fairly high in the Premier League. And their game against Leeds as well, they started off in the mid block, but as the second half started, you will notice that Tottenham added more intensity to their game, because of course operating in the mid block against that Leeds side was causing them some issues. So for outer possession, we're going to go for the more often trigger press, the higher line of engagement, the higher defensive line, but also get stuck in, because again, this works in Football Manager. And it didn't really change the tactic too much. It's not like players are going to be flying in left, right and centre, but we are just adding that little bit more intensity to our game. Also looking at the average positions as well, we can kind of try and work out the player roles, at least in the defensive areas anyway. So for the left wide centre back, we're actually going to use a wide centre back, but on the attacking duty. In the middle, we're going to be using a ball playing defender, that Eric Dyer role, and on the right side, we're going to be using a ball playing defender. Antonio Conte likes his central defenders to be very confident on the ball. In central midfield, for the Harry Winks role, we're going to be using a ball winning midfielder on that defensive duty, and his midfield partner, Pierre Højbjerg, is going to be that deep lying playmaker on support. Once Spurs have successfully forced the play wide, the team will then look to shift together as a unit, still remaining close to each other and making sure the channels are closed. Tottenham will also look to gain numerical superiority when defending in the wider areas, often creating a 4 versus 2 or 4 versus 3 in their favour, which often involves the ball-sided wing-back, winger, central midfielder and wide central defender. Remaining patient and maintaining that superiority out wide has been key when Spurs turn over the ball in the wider areas. But as said before, Tottenham have also demonstrated a higher press with a higher defensive line to stop sides from playing, which results in more intensity off the ball. In an attempt to stop teams from playing out the back, Harry Kane will look to block off the central passing options, whilst the ball-sided winger will look to press the man on the ball. The far-side winger will have the job of blocking the switch, and Højbjerg will tightly mark any central midfielders dropping deep to receive. Lastly, the ball-sided wing-back will also look to press high, closing down the opposition's fullback. This forces the opponents to play more directly, where Antonio Conte will have 3 central defenders looking to either win the aerial duel or recover the ball for Spurs. But in the 5-3-2, they defended in a low block against Liverpool, but with similar defensive principles. They still wanted to block the central area and force Liverpool to go wide. With Liverpool's fullbacks often advancing to join the attack, this meant on occasions when Spurs won the ball, they could immediately go on the attack and have a 2 versus 2 situation with Tottenham's 2 up top versus Liverpool's 2 central defenders. So, of course, we've worked out that Tottenham are a very counter-attacking side when they operated in this 5-3-2 against Liverpool, which of course in transition right away we're going to be using counter-attack when the possession has been won. We're also going to be using that cautious mentality. The trigger press is set to more often once again, but the defensive line and line of engagement, we're just going to keep it on standard, and then during games we can kind of manage this to whatever is needed for that certain match situation. The defensive width though, this time we are going to be forcing the opposition out wide. For me in the game, this has worked better when using this shape. Didn't necessarily work better though in the 3-4-2-1. But because we've also worked out that Tottenham are a very counter-attacking side in the shape, we can also set some of the team instructions. So like the passing directness, we could be using a more direct passing instruction, and we could also be passing the ball into space. Also, the transition in a 3-4-2-1, we can be using that counter-attacking movement again. Once we win the ball, especially in those wider areas, we can then look to initiate some counter-attacks. In the 3-4-3, the two wingers or attacking midfielders operate and receive the ball in central areas, often looking to create a numerical superiority with their central midfielders against the opposition's midfielders. The forward line also likes to make counter movements to open up space. For example, if Kane drops, then Son can push up ahead, and if Son drops, Kane will advance, and this creates space by stretching the lines of the opposition. And how we can attempt to create those situations in Football Manager is by using certain player roles. So for the Harry Kane role up top, we are going to be using the complete forward on the attack. For Son, we're going to be using a shadow striker. The complete forward, he kind of has the freedom to do whatever he wants, which means that he can drop. When he drops, Son can move ahead, thus creating that counter movement. And for that Lucas Moura role, we're just going to leave him on the attacking midfield on the supportive duty. Someone that can collect the ball from the midfield, but also someone that is always willing to drop and always looking to create those counter movements. In the 5-3-2, we can leave the advanced forward up top and put Son there, and for the strike partner, we can use complete forward on support, again attempting to create those counter movements. Conte's Spurs side so far have built from the back using a 3+2 shape, with a flat back three and a slightly staggered double pivot dropping deep. This forces pressing sides to engage, and Spurs can use the dropping pivot to lure the opposition and create space for the two attacking midfielders further ahead. And in Football Manager, we already have those roles set. For Harry Winks, we're going to be using the ball winning midfielder on defend, and he's really going to operate deeper than that deep line playmaker, but both of them have the duty and the responsibility of dropping deep. The deep line playmaker, of course, is going to come deep to collect the ball and look to initiate or create for the team, and the ball winning midfielder, well, he has a defensive duty, so again, naturally, he's just going to operate in a very deep area. This will create a nice stagger, and the two central midfielders will not operate on the same line. So, as you can imagine, if these two drop deep, this will force the opposition's midfielders to, of course, follow them as well if they are trying to stop us from playing out the back. This creates a big space in the midfield, and this is where the attacking midfielder can drop deep. This is where also the shadow striker can drop deep, and occasionally the central forward can drop deep, all to receive the ball. Which also tells me, in possession, we do need to play out from the defense. To beat the high press, Højbjerg will drop deep to offer a good passing angle for the central defender on the ball, whilst Winks serves as the third man to release the wider central defender if it's on. Or they could use Eric Dyer, who is particularly good on the ball, to break passing lines by firing a vertical pass to an attacking midfielder who will look to drop at an angle to offer as a passing option. So again, going back into Football Manager, this is the reason why, and a key reason why, we are using a ball playing central defender at the back. He can start off those moves and he can break those pressing lines with his more direct passing. And for the tactical instruction in possession, I do find that operating with a lower tempo does really help, because now players are not forced to make a decision. For an example, if I do play with a high tempo, the players on the ball will be looking to get the ball out of their feet fairly quickly, but we do want to lure the opposition, so we are going to be playing with a lower tempo. Lastly, as analysed on Total Football Analysis, Royal Emerson has been the more proactive wingback, joining the attack earlier. When Spurs win the ball, Emerson is seen sprinting off to provide the width, stretch the channels and push the last line deeper. Then, Tottenham can play through the gaps of the defence and exploit them by runners. And that there is the last of the tactical analysis, but of course we haven't finished creating a tactic. We still need to add those little tactical instructions to really make this an Antonio Conte tactic. First off, the passing directness. Now we're going to be using a slightly more direct passing style, and that is because Conte's Spurs side so far are not a heavy possession based team. So we're going to be using a slightly more direct passing style, but the mentality will be on positive. In transition, for the goalkeeper distribution, we are going to be looking to distribute the ball by taking short kicks, and again this helps us lure the opposition in. And this is more or less the tactic complete. Well, the team instructions anyway. For the player roles, because the right wing back is more of the offensive one, we're not going to be using necessarily different duties, but what we're going to do for Sergio Reguilón, I've struggled to pronounce his name. For the wing back on the left, we are going to be using the automatic duty, but on the right, we are going to be using support. And the difference is, on support, he's got get further forward hard-coded, whereas the wing back on automatic does not have that instruction of get further forward. And now lastly, for this 3-4-3 or the 3-4-2-1, is the player instructions. Now, there aren't many. There's only 3 players, I believe, with instructions. Those 3 players are the 2 wing backs and the attacking midfielder on support. To make that wing back on the right a little bit more offensive, what we've done is make him close down more, which the left wing back will also be doing, but the right wing back will be crossing from the byline and crossing more often, whereas the left wing back, he is just going to be closing down more. And lastly, for the player instruction, is the attacking midfielder on support. He's going to be getting further forward, moving into channels and roaming from his position. This is trying to replicate that Lucas Moura role, but we also want him to have a little bit more of an influence when the team has the ball. So when the team has the ball, he's going to be getting further forward, moving into the channels, but also roaming from his position. And that there wraps up Antonio Conte's 3-4-3 formation, and we haven't forgot about the 3-5-2. So in the 3-5-2 at the back, we are going to be again using the ball playing defender in the middle. The right side of central defender will be the ball playing defender as well, but the left side of central defender this time is going to stick with that central defending role. The wing backs, both of them, are going to be wing backs on the automatic duty, and in central midfield we do have that ball winning midfielder on the defensive duty once again. The 2 wider central midfielders are going to be the 2 Mazzalas. They need to operate in the wider areas, but also the 2 strikers in the 3-5-2, they don't go out wide to press, so the central midfielders in the wider areas need to be responsible for moving out wide to press, while the other 2 central midfielders will move along and shift over. And this here already is the player roles and their duty all sorted. And lastly, for the team instructions, again, get stuck in. This just helps provide or get better results in Football Manager, and also in possession we will be playing out from the defense, again trying to lure those high pressing teams, getting them to press us, and then we can hit that direct ball and expose any space that we do create. And unfortunately, that wraps up the 2 tactics. We've analysed them. We've created a Football Manager for both of them. Now we need to play a game to see how it's going to work out. Let's load up a game. I think it's against Crystal Palace at home. I do like to play these little test games at home and against teams that we do expect to beat, because of course we do get more opportunities to see the tactic in full motion. But let's load up that game against Crystal Palace. And here we are. This is the team that we are going with. Lucas Moura has just returned from an injury not too long ago, so that's the reason why he's not fully fit. But this is the team that we're going to go with. Fairly similar to what we are expecting to be happening in real life. Fairly similar. But let's get this game kicked off. So here we are. The game is underway. And as you can see as well, in the league table, we have played 20 games. We're just 1 point off the top. We are just 1 point off the top, so hopefully we can win this game as well. But we have only played 20 games so far. We've just had our first shot on target, well, at goal anyway. There's Edward Gallagher. Oh my god, they didn't score. So here's Ben Davis on the ball. Oh, he plays it to Son, and we are 1-0 up, and we are 1-0 up and running. It's Tottenham 1, Crystal Palace 0, but it did come from a set piece intercepted by someone on Crystal Palace colours. But then Ben Davis gets the ball again. He plays it to Son, and he smashes it in the back of the net. So it's 1-0 to Tottenham at half time, and to be fair, we haven't performed exactly well. Here's Guito with a long kick. Emerson intercepts. He plays it into Son, and he should have scored. It should have been 2-0 there. Lucas Moura plays a nice ball into Son, and it should have been 2-0. He whips in the corner, but it amounts to nothing. So half time. It is half time, and maybe we can look at some possible tweaks to try and get more from this Tottenham side. And we can possibly look to use those wider areas more effectively. So for the attacking width, I'm just going to stretch it to wide rather than fairly wide, and we're just going to see how that plays out. So let's get back to that dressing room and let's start that second half. So Emerson Royale now with a throw, and he whips it in. Kelly heads the ball out. It falls to Sergio. He's going to go down the byline. Ben Davis, that wide centre back, he whips it in. Again, defended well by Crystal Palace, and they have taken Kane down. It is going to be a penalty. Well, we hope so. VAR checked. And penalty has been awarded. Harry Kane is going to step up. I believe he's the top goal scorer so far. Of course. he was going to score. Well, I'm not even going to celebrate because I support Arsenal. So this isn't exactly a good video for me, is it? But it's currently 2-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. We've created one clear cut and I'm guessing that has been the penalty. But here we can just look at the defensive shape. So if we go back a little bit, we can see the 5 at the back with Emerson, Romero, Eric Dyer in the middle, Ben Davis, and then we have Sergio Reguilón. Now, ideally, we do want Lucas Moura to be out wide, pressing Guy on the ball. And we do want Højbjerg to be maintaining his position with, of course, Harry Winks. But like I said at the very start, it's very difficult to get that shape with attacking midfielders and not using the wingers. If I used wingers, then possibly we would have Lucas Moura pressuring the man on the ball. But of course, that's just not going to happen often enough in this shape. But let's see how this plays out. Oh, they've breaking through Michael Elise. That would have been a good goal, but Hugo Lloris sweeps up the ball. We're just approaching 60 minutes now. Tottenham have been fairly the dominant side. Crystal Palace hasn't really caused us any issues. Excellent football there from Emerson Royal. We are now currently second in the Premier League. Still just 1 point behind the league leaders. Here's Son on the corner. Oh, a decent save by Guita, but Harry Kane knocks in the rebound. His 20th goal of the season. You can see, look, straight to the near post. Guita should have done better there. Guita. He should have done better there, but Harry Kane knocks in the rebound. And again, that was another clear-cut chance. We can also see here how much Højbjerg is getting hold of the ball. He's playing the ball, but it's a lot of recycling, just playing it back to that number 4. I believe that is Christian Romero. Can we sneak one more goal before the full-time whistle? It doesn't look like it does it. Oh, we've gone to the top of the table. We have gone to the top of the table, and it is Tottenham 3, Crystal Palace 0. We did have an XG of 2.19, which was helped, of course, by that penalty kick. A nice victory, well done. But like you saw in that match, the tactic is not perfect. If the tactic's not working out for you, you have to go into the team instructions and look at some tweaks to kind of help you get more out of the tactic. The tactic, of course, isn't meant to be perfect. It's meant to be a replication, and some people don't really like when I compromise to make it more effective for Football Manager, basically making it more match engine friendly. So this time, I really try to capture the tactic in real life and pull it into the game rather than use many instructions and roles that I know would just help us get better results in Football Manager. But for the results, we are not going to complete the season. We're just going to kind of leave it at the 20th game mark, where we have played 20, we've won 16, we've drawn 2, away to Arsenal, away to Brentford, and we've also lost 3, away to Newcastle. We got smashed. Absolutely smashed. I'm not sure what happened there. And we also lost 1-0 away to Manchester United. Looking at the top goal scorers, Harry Kane, he has scored 16 goals and really he's been the standout performer for Tottenham Hotspur. Now, we can look at some of the results, especially in the Premier League. And what I really want to show you is what happens when we play against the bigger sides. So against Manchester United, of course, I'm using a small database, so we can't even open up these games. Against Manchester United, we went away and we lost 1-0. Against Tottenham, or against Chelsea, sorry, we played them at home. Giovanni Lo Celso got sent off in the 3rd minute. We ended up winning the game though. And against Arsenal, we went away to them. We got a 1-1 draw again. Giovanni Lo Celso with an action very early on. This time he scored a goal, but Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scored a penalty to equalise. Against Manchester City, we beat them 2-0, and this is all using that 5-3-2 formation. So against the bigger sides, it's doing well. And of course, against Liverpool at home, we beat them 2-1. And Heung-min Son scored in the 90th minute. And we can also look here as well with the formations used. As you can see, the 5-2-2-1 wing back, as Football Manager calls it, we have used that 86% of the times. We started 31 games using that formation, and with the 5-3-2 narrow, we've used that 13% of the times and only used that in 5 of those games. And like we saw, it was against those big sides. Now, we're in the data hub. We can look at the pass map from the most recent game, which was against Crystal Palace, and this is what we look like. Now, what I really wanted to see was Harry Kane, probably a bit more deeper, but as we can see as well, Heung-min Son and Lucas Moura operating in that half channel very narrow compared to what there would have been operating on the flanks. For the attacking efficiency, we have been passive in our shooting, but we have been clinical. We do not take a lot of shots at goal. For the defensive efficiency, you can see that we were quiet in defense and also impenetrable. For the goal output, you can see that we just about have that high quality shooting, but strong defending. For the tackling, we've made lots of tackles. We've also been strong in our tackling as well. So defensively off the ball, we are doing some nice work. And for the passing, where are we? We can see it, the fewer passes, but we have been on the more accurate side. Looking at the XG table as well, we are currently first in the table, but when it comes to expected points, we're supposed to be 6. It's supposed to be Liverpool, Manchester City, Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and then Tottenham Hotspur. But as you can see, we are overperforming our XG by 11, overperforming our expected goals against by 5, and of course overperforming with our expected points. So we're still in the Europa Conference League where we're playing Antwerp. We're still in the Emirates FA Cup, but we did get knocked out in the Carabao Cup 4th round by Southampton. Unfortunately though, that wraps up this very long video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed recording it for you and of course editing it as well. If you are new and you haven't yet, make sure you are subscribed. That is very, very important. Like this video, share the video, leave a comment. Again, all important in helping this channel grow, so then I can make more tactical videos just like this one. Of course, that one footballing app as well. Make sure you download it. Make sure you use it. You can drop some feedback. All of that stuff. Shout out to my Patreons. I'll speak to you guys soon. Stay safe. Peace out. God bless.